It's happening, Bella.
When's it live? Now?
Yeah, we're 10 seconds in.
Are we? All right. As you can see, Jules and I have sacked Joe for this episode. Welcome, everybody, to episode 129 of the Almost Blues Brothers, brought to you and powered by Blue Abroad and Image Online, where you get, Jules, what do you get?
You get ring-a-ding-dings. You get, what else do you get? You get everything there, don't you?
You get live
They
answering.
do a handful of things.
Live answering. Guys, check them out. Has anyone in the live chat actually checked out Image Online? Please do. We need another sponsor for next year.
There's actually only so much of that I can fucking take. That was disgusting.
It was actually very good.
You've got to clean that up. You got to clean that up.
You know what we could do? Let's put a vote out there. Can you actually do votes on your end, Joe, or not?
No.
I wrote a full script.
We need to make that possible, I reckon.
Jules, look, I wrote a full script to intro the show.
That's milk. That's actually the most work you put in to the show.
Hey, the guys are loving it.
Live the love. Look, Davey, about time he got to host. Rowan, I thought Dan was solo hosting. Oliver Lynch begged to disagree, Joe. He was good. Yeah.
Where it was going to go with Jules, was then I'm going to shoot to you to speak about why Joe's not here.
Let's trial it. Go.
No, we can't. It's just pointless
now. You've ruined it, Joe.
That's right, because he's part of the show. Come back on, Joe. You're wasting time here.
I'm wasting time. I'll tell you what was a fucking waste of time.
Your haircut.
We'll get there in a minute.
1, 2, 3, 4.
That's our moment. We finally, as a generation, we can hang our hat on a genuine moment.
Honestly, we are a force because of the intensity that we play at is just next level.
We want to be here. We want to impact finals. And it's one thing is obviously saying it, but we just lived it.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 129 of the Almost Blues Brothers podcast, part of the Blue Abroad Media Network and proudly powered in 2024 by Image Online. I've got to get those graphics backed up. We've got some feedback.
I've done this, Joe.
We've got some feedback coming from Jules' end. Again, unfortunately, guys, but it is what it is. We tried to fix it pre-show. Can't get it done. We'll be back in the studio next week. We don't have to deal with this because I will not be in Harry Potter's attic. I'll be back in Melbourne. I'm actually leaving in a couple of hours. Boys, how's this one? Look at this. M Funky in the chat.
I saw that.
From Zanzibar, Tanzania.
Love it.
That is incredible. We're global. And speaking of global, I got a shout out. I've just got a shout out. No, I've got a shout out to start the show. Yeah. I've been in London, obviously, for the last few weeks. My partner, Gab, she plays for Wandsworth Demons in the AFL London League. Big shout out to Johnny, a Welshman. Hey, the feedback's real bad on Jules' end, I think. Or is it Dan's end?
It's not me.
Can you hear it?
I can't hear anything.
It's got to be from Dan then.
It's not. I'm speaking. We can hear it on Jules.
Oh, it's Jules's then. Fuck.
Yeah, because I can hear my voice on Jules's thing. Listen, we need to be professional, Joe, and we need to ignore it, please.
Ignore
the feedback. Let's go. Let's move through. I was going to say,
ignore the feedback.
The feedback on Jules's on the mic.
Oh, yeah, got you. Yeah.
What maybe we should do is when we get, say, like we got Zanzibar, Tanzania, maybe we should go to one of the most outrageous places where we've got a listener.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the most outrageous I've ever seen.
Tanzania, yeah.
Zanzibar. But thank you for joining us. It's fantastic. Jules, what's going on, man?
Boys, good boys. Just been here, there, everywhere, but it's been good. Not as far as you, Joe, but you know,
where you been?
Places.
Where you been? From the couch to the fridge and back.
Yeah, I went onto the roof today. Actually, spent a bit of time up there, fixing a few things, but all good so far.
Yeah.
You, Joe, what'd you get up to today, or was it yesterday?
I've just woken up. But yesterday, the Champions League final was in London. I didn't get to watch it. Didn't get to go. Tickets were about $6,000, so I'm not paying that to go watch Madrid just get a stock standard 2-0 win. But
To be honest, it wasn't, because Borussia Dortmund were actually very good.
early on, they had chances. I heard a lot of chances.
They did.
To bury a couple. So it's usually how it goes in a Champions League final against Madrid. I don't understand it. No one can beat them. Dan, what's happening?
I had a good weekend.
Yeah.
Went and played 18 holes with my dad at Eagle Ridge. So Joe's going to get me a handicap now.
Well, it's not that easy, but yeah, it's not as simple as like, oh, yeah, Joe, here's my scorecards. Like,
Me and you will play this weekend. That's 2 scorecards. Bang. Is that how it works?
no, but I'll take you through it. I'm not going to bore the listeners with a handicap system.
Anyway, it's a very good course. It was actually a really good day. I've got a not happy Dan for my old man later on the golf course.
All right.
So we'll
Looking
save
forward to
that.
it.
Yeah, you are, yeah.
I've also got a not happy Dan, but we'll go through that at the end of the show. I look like a fucking half-sucked mango these days. Fucking head like a bulldog eating a wasp after that haircut. It's rubbish.
Johnny Bravo was
No,
saying in the thing. Jules, what did you call him?
No,
I
he
actually can't remember.
was
I didn't call him
commenting
anything. It was just the.
on this shit. Anyway,
It's too clean. The haircut's too clean.
nice haircut. Trust me, it's not. It's fucking not. I actually wasn't gonna. I wasn't actually gonna do this today. Initially, it was actually just gonna be Dan and Jules, because I'm on a flight in a couple. But we brought the show forward by an hour to accommodate.
Did
So
you
I
get the
appreciate-
haircut
I
for the show?
I just want to say I appreciate my co-hosts bringing the show forward so I could join, because I did want to talk about this this brilliant game from Thursday. So what did you say? Did I what?
Did you get the haircut for the show?
No, I didn't.
It's
so
shit.
I can't wait for it to grow out. It's fucking so bad.
It looks like me in grade 6.
Can you do us a favor? From now until actually, you know what? Let's do this. Until Carlton lose a game, don't get a haircut.
Oh,
Yeah, don't mind
Would you
all
do
of
it?
us.
imagine I did that
No,
last
just
year.
Joe.
10
Okay,
weeks.
because Jules wouldn't be able to do that because he'd have to get his hair cut.
Yeah. What do we got? Anthony.
I've had a haircut for 2 months.
Joe's still got the best hair on the podcast. Thank you very much. Maz, it'll settle in a couple of weeks, Joe, probably by the time we slap the Bombers. Lana, it's a bit of a shocker, Joe.
She tells it how it is, Lana. I like it.
Davey, be happy you have hair. That's true. That's true. Oliver Lynch wants me to shave it. Not happening. Boys, we've got a game to talk about. This is just rubbish. Without any further ado.
Oh, let's get into it.
And like I was saying, big shout out to Johnny and the Wandsworth Demons in London. I was out with Johnny last night. He is a long-time listener from Wales, boys. A long-time listener. Noticed me at one of Gab's games a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, he's a good bloke, Johnny. So I said I'd give him a shout out today. He's right.
Joe, when you say long time, do you mean long time?
My understanding is it's a long time.
Like heard us talk about the women's early on.
Why
No, we did. We did cover that.
But why do you say it like that?
Because that's a long time. There's long time and then there's long time ago.
That's when Jules was in his Sam McClure era.
And he knew Mimi. Mimi, what was her name, Jules?
Georgia G.
Georgia G.
When you're saying long time, I'm thinking about something else.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
I don't really want to go there.
Let's get into the game. Come on.
Fuck,
All
right. Final score. Carlton, 16-11-107, defeated the Port Adelaide Football Club by 36 points, 10-11-71. Goal kickers for the Blues. Akers, McGovern, Chincotta, Kemp, DeConning with 1 each, Cripps with 2, Mackay with 3, Williams with 3, Curnow with 3. No injuries from the game. 40,000 at the Adelaide Oval. We own that place in 2024, which is fantastic to see. Boys, what a game.
Brilliant game. Brilliant game of footy from start to finish. It was really unbelievable.
I reckon it was our most professional performance in quite a while, to be honest with you.
Yep, I can agree with that. It was our best game of the season, most complete game of the season, I probably feel.
Yeah. Against reasonable opposition. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You kind of question Port Adelaide after that one, whether or not they're up to it. But we dominated them. We dominated in that fourth, especially. But still, we were sort of able to just keep in touch the whole game, which is good to see. Like I think we drop the lead at all?
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
Okay.
Midway through the third, I think it was. Georgiades kicked that goal.
You're right. I think there were 5 lead changes in the end. Sorry, but
yeah, I think third quarter it changed a bit. But Georgiades kicking that goal was the one where I think they went a point up.
Yeah, we
had like seven inside 50s to start the third. They had one, kicked one. It was just like fuck.
Yeah,
you know.
Do you read into anything around Voss now being undefeated against Port as well since he's come across?
No, I just think whatever challenges or what history was there or things that are against us, we're just knocking them off one by one. These sort of hoodoos, and all these bogey teams, we're knocking them off one by one, and you can see they're not afraid.
Yeah, it's happened pretty quickly too. Like we were like quite a few of them, to be honest with you. Like Richmond opening game of the season. Obviously, we obviously got our first win at against Freo at Adelaide Oval. Okay, because obviously haven't won there for a long time. Then obviously against Port, Brisbane up there as well. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that we're just ticking at the moment and going quite nicely.
Can we talk about the first quarter first, boys?
Go.
I think this one is actually a good one to break down either quarter by quarter or half. But I feel as though early on, you could see we're bringing our pressure. You could see we're up for it. But I personally felt early on they were playing our game in a sense. They were really dominant at the clearance, whereas we were sort of picking them off on turnover. And that's, I think, they scored most of their goals from the source, from stoppage, whereas we actually did it the other way. I think it was 3 goals 3 to 4 goals 1. They were 3 goals 3 from clearance, and then we were 4 goals 1 from turnover. So it sort of gave a bit of a reflection. I thought it took us a while, maybe until the third, to actually get our clearance game going. We finished the third. We'll talk about the third later, but we've actually finished it ahead in clearances, which I think that's our one wood. That's what we need to get going pretty much all game, personally.
It's for me, that was clear. But the thing that stood out to me was all game, even though we didn't really kick away until the last, we were doing all of the little things right that contenders do. Little knock-ons, little shepherds, little blocks, all the 1%ers that you see genuine contenders do year in, year out. And it's the first time I was able to sit back and go, you know what? They're playing for each other this year. That's sort of been something I've questioned a little bit. Obviously, the group says in press conferences and Voss says in press all the time.
Oh, he's out. He's gone. Yep. Well, Jules, to follow on from that.
Yeah, well, what I was going to... This is actually unbelievable. What I was...
Voss says all the time...
he's teasing him. It's a little teaser. That's not fair.
I'm just going to
continue. You can't do this.
Just quickly, Voss says all the time they're connected and whatnot. It's something that I'll probably question myself personally at times this year, just based on performance. But you can just see they're starting to do all the little things that you want to see from really, really good sides.
Can I just add on to that? Personnel make a big difference.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So we've had Fogarty come in. We've had Sard come in. They are 2 massive inclusions for what we want to do as a football club week to week.
Yeah, for me, and I'd like to go... I mean, if we're talking about pressure, and obviously that's sort of where we sort of start from. They say, we're built off pressure, especially our game style. and it's what we want to be identified as. And first quarter 207, second 203, third quarter 185, and then the fourth 194. So we didn't drop in terms of quarter below 187. So I mean the
No, you can
average is
see.
like 180-ish. So it's pretty like the pressure that we put on was ridiculous. Yeah, and they couldn't really keep up with us. I know in the third they sort of lifted. But in saying that, the third quarter we were actually more dominant in terms of obviously winning the stoppage as well. But I think on the back of that, I know we're speaking about the first half in terms of what we're doing right. We were doing a lot right, Joe. And I agree. The only thing that we weren't doing was hitting the scoreboard and being clean going into our inside forward 50 and from there putting scoreboard pressure on. Other than that, and besides the clearances, but if you have a look at the actual overall game in terms of getting the ball inside forward 50 in the first half, yeah, we were losing clearances, but we were getting the ball inside forward 50. We just weren't connecting. And that was sort of an area of concern. Now, there's two players that have been massive, I think, in terms of our efficiency and scoring off turnover. And they are Gov and Sard. So I'd like to get into those, Joe, because I know Paysan brought them up.
Calc.
Yeah.
Calc.
So everyone, I'm big on TDK in terms of being the number one ruck, and or not personally TDK being the number one. I'll rephrase that, but being having one ruck in the side and a mobile ruck, and I think that does help our turnover game. But there's two other players in particular that have come in, and probably Fogg and a Sincotta coming in as well with that leg speed and pressure obviously helps the turnover, but in saying that, we were creating a lot of turnovers in the game, even without Fogg and Sakota and the like. And I'll go into these stats now on two players, Gov and Sard. So there's four areas that I want to look at. So points from turnover. So with Gov and Sard, it's 58. Without, it's 44. So that's points from turnover. So obviously that's a 14-point difference there. Points from defensive half, 37.3 with, 27.4 without. Okay, so it's a 10 points difference there. Now, it says here, oppo turnovers, so in terms of forcing a turnover from opposition, it's 65.9 with, without 66.8. So we're actually down by one turnover on average with them. But it's the efficiency and their ball use that helps drive the turnover and obviously the entries inside forward 50. Now, in terms of scoring shots from turnover, it's 15.1, okay, with and 11 without.
Yeah.
So it's an extra 4 shots a game.
Massive.
Purely because of having these players inside out in our 22.
You know,
so obviously off the back of the last few weeks in terms of getting players back, it's evident you have a healthy list, your better players playing, 100%. And you see the output.
No shit.
I've
been saying it now for the past 3-4 weeks, repeating the same thing. But I actually liked that we invited Port Adelaide to play that risky kick because you had Sard and Gov that were going to just like pluck it off and go. And I agree with Jules. Our entries inside attacking 50. I think if they were a lot better, you would have seen a very different scoreline early on. I think that was evident. But Sard's ability to intercept and to take the game on is something that we can't replace with any other player personally. And it's evident now in 2 weeks what he brings in. He's in my votes. I'll talk about that later. But him especially is huge. The other two is obviously Fogg. I think it's and Sincotta. The first time, I think it's the first game in a while that we'd actually won the tackle count. And tackles inside forward 50.
Seems
Pretty
Yeah,
sure
I
that's
think-
right.
Yeah, no, you did. And the actual
right.
crazy thing about it is we actually won possessions as well.
Yes.
So off the back of that, I think we won possessions by, well, it's not by much, it's by 6, but winning 6 possessions and then having, I think it was 75 tackles from memory. Yeah, 75 to 60, and then 16 forward 50 tackles to 14. So obviously we won a lot of the ball, but the pressure was hot.
That's bread and butter. We haven't laid those sort of tackle numbers for a month from memory.
Tell you what I found strange. The goals were there. I felt all game, especially Harry and Charlie, for example. The goals looked like they were there, but Port surprised me in wanting to go 1-on-1 with everyone. I really found that a bit strange, given our firepower there.
So
They held us off, to be fair, Lear did well, but I just thought it was coming. Once we got going.
Charlie sort of towed up Aaliyah early on, and they switched Radaglia to him. And to be fair to Radaglia, he actually had him covered for the rest of the game after that. Charlie didn't kick a goal once they made that move. But then Harry got going. Obviously, Williams found his touch in the last. Yeah. To go 1-on-1 with our forwards is...
I find it a risky game, personally.
It's bold. The thing I was most impressed with was the way that we set up and structured once they had ball in hand. And if you go back and watch the replay, especially early on, we did not allow them a direct kick inside 50. And when I say direct, that V from outside the goal square, they couldn't hit up that spot. They just couldn't hit that zone. We pushed them wide. We made sure that we kept them wide on the wing, and that they were hitting short targets, like deep pocket, like 40 meters out in the pocket.
Second quarter, they were hitting better targets inside 450.
They were.
They won the clearance. It was from stoppage. They were +9 or something, and they were hitting better targets inside there.
But you did see that early on though. Very, very early on, we did not allow them.
Their shots were further.
I'll try and get the
I think Soldo had like 2 or 3 shots from outside 50.
Yeah, and the thing is, he buried one of them. Like,
yeah, I know.
You can only do so much. It was him, George. I think Georgiades we pushed wide, and he kicked one from like 40 meters out on the boundary. Like I've got the field kicking here. If you look at Port Adelaide, right, they're at the top there. Look how many shots they had from out wide and deep on the 50 compared to us. Look how much more direct that is. Look where we're kicking our goals from.
Yeah.
Outside of a couple on the boundary.
I think
so it was impressive to see how whatever they did and whatever oppo analysis they did, it was impressive to see that we actually let them have it on the outside and pushed them as wide as possible by not giving them the corridor when they had ball in hand. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I think though on that, Joe, I think because you have the likes of a Gov and a side out in the side currently, our defense just seems far more settled. Obviously, wearing back obviously for a few weeks now. Having players like that in terms of their communication up the field to direct traffic and positioning and set up, obviously the structures. That's the reason why. It's not because the midfield's doing their job. It's off the back of the defense in terms of what they're seeing, and especially the wingers. Akers plays a big part in that as well.
Yeah. No, it was just an impressive. It was, you know what? I was impressed, and I don't know if satisfied is the right word, but I was content with what I was seeing even for the first 3 quarters. I was like, all right, well, we're in this. It's Adelaide Oval. They play well on that deck. We're in it up to our eyeballs at 3/4 time. That's all I asked for pre-game, was to make sure that we didn't get blown out early on, or the game didn't get away from us. We were right in it, and then me boys, I don't know. That is some of the most scintillating football I have seen us play ever, and we've said it a lot over the last couple of years. But our ability to put a team away in 1 quarter is second to none in this competition. There's no other side that can pile on goals like we do as quickly as we do. And again, I'll say I can't remember a time. Maybe the Brisbane game was the only time I saw it. Outside of that, when we pile on goals, we pile on goals from stoppage. It's clear as day to me now. Like, obviously, you need the balance, and we speak about this every week. You need the balance between turnover and stoppage. But I got some stats here. So
Was it 8 goals won in the last quarter?
It was 7 goals won in the last quarter, right? We kicked
there
8
you go.
goals, 8 goals overall. But scores from stoppage here, right? It's our third highest game from stoppage, scoring from stoppage for the year. It's our highest stoppage scoring differential, so we're plus 20 to Port. Scores from turnover was still right up there. It was plus 5. It was plus 21 versus Port, and that's still top 5 for us this year. But obviously, way down the pecking order versus some other games that we've seen throughout the year. Now, you look at clearance and stoppage here in the second half. I think this is actually the last quarter, but in the last quarter, Carlton scored 8-1, 49 from clearance and a plus 9 differential. We scored 7-1, 43 from stoppage alone in the fourth quarter. The league average for a whole game from stoppage is 32.5. Now,
Wow.
some will say that that's an outlier. I'm not anymore, because we've seen this time and again with this group. When they get stoppage right and when we get on top, we absolutely tear teams apart. They can't get near us. It's clearly our one wood still. Now, the dilemma that we've got is we've got Pitto and we've got Chera on the sideline, who will likely still come back into this side. For me, the midfield mix, even without, I'm not even talking about Pitto. I'm talking about Chera, right? And these 5 midfielders that we clearly can't play all at the same time anymore. I've said this for a long time. What do we do with that now? Because if Chera comes back in, just Chera, forget about Pitto, that pushes one of Chincotta, Elijah, or Fogarty out of that midfield mix as they're rolling through. And for me, we become too slow again. Do you agree?
I agree, but I don't see that happening. I think from what I've seen occurring, particularly from memory, from the finals of last year, even earlier on this season, Kennedy was the sub. When those players were playing, and even when Pitto was playing, a lot of the times Kennedy was the sub. And to be honest with you, it's actually probably not a bad sub to actually have, Kennedy, because he's very flexible, can play forward, good around the ground, good obviously on the deck, can take an overhead mark. Obviously, you can see in terms of his work in the midfield, he can play a role in terms of running with the player. Even in defence, you've seen in defence as well. When we, most recently, I think it was against Adelaide. I think we lost Govan Sard in that game. I think from memory. I could be wrong, but there was a game where he went down back and played off the half back in the second half as well. So I think if there's any player that's going to drop out of the side, drop out of the 22, it's probably going to be a Kennedy.
I do agree with that personally.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Chincotta.
No.
Who else was the other player, Joe, that you mentioned?
Elijah, Fogarty, they've still got to run through.
Yeah, Elijah. I don't think because I think those players give us flexibility, but I don't think if you add a Chera and take one of those players out and keep Kennedy inside the 22, then you don't have the flexibility in your side. But Kennedy gives us flexibility when he is sub, because he can play a number of roles
in different positions.
And then this is the thing. So this is what we're going to run into at the end of the year. I'm convinced of it now. Is we've got too much depth now in the midfield that if I'm Matt Kennedy, for instance, if we're saying that a team that's going to play that sub role, he's going to look for opportunities elsewhere. He just will. You're not going to be content playing as a sub for the rest of your career, right? So
you don't know that, Joe. You don't know what culture they've got. It's not necessarily if our midfield aren't performing, if Chera's not performing, he comes in.
No, of course.
That's just reality. So it doesn't becomes about culture. It's not a given that you should go look elsewhere.
Of course.
Maybe there is a culture within the club that goes, and I would guarantee there is, where it's no, you fight for your position, you keep doing the right things, and your time will come, and you make sure you take it. If players aren't performing, then they get axed.
And to be honest with you, over the course of the last 2 years, there's always probably going to be a midfielder out as well. So he's going to play games.
Especially with the brand of footy that we play, with that contested, contested style that we have, that profile that we do have.
Another thing too is what to take into consideration is, I mean, I actually don't know, but that just comes into my line of thinking in regards to Kennedy's contract. How long is he contracted for? If he's contracted for 2 years, obviously include his plus this year, so at the end of 2026, is he going to go anywhere this year or next year? You can still hold on to him.
No, you can. That's true. And
So
I think what you both said there is all fair. For me,
It's not an attack on you, Joe. It's not an attack.
No, it's not. It's not. I'm just saying. I'm not. I couldn't care less. It's just. I'm not taking it that way. I'm looking at Kennedy though, and I'm going. He's clearly playing an important role. How can we just bring Chera straight back in after all this?
I think we've learned. But I think we've learnt with injuries. Sorry to cut you off, but I think we've learnt with injuries now that Chera won't be. I don't think it's going to be how we manage the Jack Martin, and we're putting him straight in. I think with his history of injury, especially his hamstring, I think we're going to be looking at bringing him in very differently. I hope we do.
You just want to make sure that,
like what M Funky says.
Was that?
That's what I said. That's what I just put up there. Yeah.
What'd you say,
I like
George?
what he's mentioned. I like what M Funky mentioned. Just because, like, that's what you want to build. You want to build a culture where it's like, I don't care who you are. If certain players are performing, you wait your turn.
Yeah.
So if Chera has to go back to the VFL, and it's not because of, I mean, he hasn't really had form because he hasn't played. But obviously we're performing now with the group of players that are actually in our midfield or half forward, etc., and different positions that he could possibly play. But another thing too is we need to learn to trust his body, and he's got to learn to trust his body as well in terms of putting in the output and giving the output.
I think we can say this for any. The only one I would say probably doesn't need to go through the VFL is Cotters, and which is crazy to say because I just think Cotters has done enough in the role that he plays to cement his spot once he's fit. If he proves he's fit, he comes straight back in on that half forward. But for the rest of them, Martin, Motlop, Chera, Pitto, Marchbank, Cunningham, they've got to put together some in the reserves now before they come back in, because that midfield mix that we've got is as balanced as I've seen now. It really is. And if we do what we did against Port, against Essendon next week, there's no question on what our mix needs to look like in the middle. We were brutal. Well, that was absolutely brutalizing football in that last quarter. They couldn't get close to us. They couldn't touch us.
Another thing too is in terms of the way our forward line is functioning over the last couple of weeks as well, with the likes of Charlie, Harry, Williams playing as that hybrid sort of role. I just think the flexibility that we have there as well now is I actually don't know who comes out, and the only player I'm trying to think in terms of the game, but the only player that might come out is an Owies, but he's very reliable.
Fantasia.
So like,
Fantasia.
A Fantasia, yeah. A Fantasia, I think he's playing that Cotters role though. I think he's coming up to the wing. He's playing a bit of wing as well. I think that's a straight swap, and I think that's inevitable. But the only other player outside of Fantasia is probably an Owies, but he probably hasn't played the last couple of weeks his best footy. But for the last 4 or 5 weeks previous to that, he has. So I think
you get product. The thing is, I think it's just based on product now. You get product with Owies with goals. So you can't drop a play with goals. Simple. So for me, I think Fantasia's that guy that would come out. We always speak about his smarts. How about that little wonder almost goal in the second, I think it was, where it was on the boundary?
Would have been goal of the decade.
Genuinely. Where he pulled that out from, if that had gone in, forget about it. It would have broken the TV. But I want to talk about what Jules was saying a bit earlier about the turnover and stoppage and all that sort of stuff, just to touch on it one more time, was I really don't care at this point in time. I'm happy to leave it to Voss as to whether he goes with one ruck or two, personally. What I do think, I'm getting feedback there.
Jules, I'm just going to mute you while Dan's talking. Yeah. I'll take you off.
Because my voice is loud. What I did find pleasing with this game was that I was able to stay in the game with more of a turnover game. I think that was actually quite important and quite good to see. We've seen us both win games off our stoppage or off our turnover, but it's clear for me that our one wood being our clearance game and our contested game needs to be up there. Needs to be up there with our opposition, because I think it becomes a very dangerous game you play if you're just playing purely off turnover or you're losing. We've got too good of a midfield to not capitalize in there. What I think needs to improve is getting out the back of stoppage and getting better looks inside forward 50. That's what needs to get better.
For me, I'll take you off minute, Jules, once I'm done here. But for me, I agree. And I think we've got the right – that game was the right balance between stoppage and turnover. That's the best I've seen it for us as a profile.
Yeah.
I understand a lot of other teams rely on turnover. I get it. Unfortunately, we don't have the personnel to deliver the football and to execute in disposal. That's clear now. After 3 years, this is the third season under Voss. We just don't have the personnel that can execute cleanly enough on turnover going inside 50. What we do have is a midfield brigade that when they are up and going are almost unbeatable. Unbeatable. It's clear as day. Now, I'm starting to very much sway towards the one ruck scenario after what I've seen the last 2 weeks. Whether that's Pito or TDK, I don't care at this point. But if we do what we did, like I said before, if we do what we did against Port, next week against Essendon, with the same sort of structure around the football, I don't want to see it change. I just don't want to see it change. I think we've got the balance right. Go for it, Jules, because I've just taken you off mute.
Yeah. So, look, for me, boys, I think, and I've always said it, we've needed to have a balance, but we need to make sure that our turnover game was better. We've always had the contested possessions, and we've always had the stoppage game. It's just inevitable that we've always had it with our midfield that we have. But yeah, like you said, Joe, in terms of the one ruck, it's probably a TDK in terms of what we've seen the last couple of weeks.
Right now, yeah, he was phenomenal.
But like in saying that, like if you actually have a look at it, we had the turnover game without Pito in the first 4 or 5 weeks. Our clearance game was sort of not up to the level. Then we brought Pito, and then it went the other way and it flipped.
Yeah.
The last couple of weeks, you've seen it. But for me though, and obviously Pito, or the one we've had the one ruck. I still think, and you got to understand it too, Walsh wasn't there the first 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of a clearance game, that's like a massive thing. And I think now with his ability to be, that inside-outside sort of player, I know his delivery, I think someone in the comments, I can't remember where, but or who, they said his delivery inside forward 50 was putrid. It's been pretty bad the last couple of weeks, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think with having TDK as a sole ruck, he's able to give that flexibility, and he's still able to be contested and going up for second, third, and fourth efforts. But our midfield is good enough to win the clearance without a Pito. We don't need that type of ruck.
So,
I think the first 4 or 5 weeks, our midfield wasn't good enough because they didn't reach their levels, not because of the addition of Pito. That's what I honestly think, and I think over the last 2 weeks, it's showed.
So on that,
there was no Gov and Sard.
That's right. So just as much as there was no Walsh in the first 5 rounds, we had Gov and Sard from round 1 to 5, and then 11 to 12. So they missed rounds.
We're talking about stoppage though.
No. But my point is, on the flip side,
on the contrary,
they missed rounds 6 to 10 combined, which is really when Pito came in and started doing what he needed to do. So I get it. I still think there is room to experiment with Pito one more time with TDK and experiment with the 2 rucks with the back line and the back half looking how it does now with the right personnel behind them. That's all.
Yeah, I don't think we need to experiment with Pito. I actually still think he plays a few games before the end of the end of the home and away season. I still think he will play. Yeah. The reason being is because I think TDK will need a chop out. I think TDK will still play every single game, but I don't think you want a one rucking for 23 rounds or however many games we're playing.
Not realistic.
I think he will need a rest. I think he will need a rest, and he'll still play in the
But
game, but he'll have.
When I say experiment, I was more saying play the two rucks and see what the turnover and stoppage differential look like with Sard and Gov. Because, like, it's easy to say Walsh coming in and then Pitto going out and then turnover, increase and clearance increase with all that. But
because you had
based on the numbers that you went through before, Jules, like that's from rounds 1 to 5 and round 11 and 12 with Gov and Sard. Pitto hasn't played in maybe more than 2 of those games, if that. So
yeah, that's what I look at.
I think there's room to see what they can do or what the team looks like, even with a second ruck in there. I think a lot of this turnover comes from the back half, and if it's from the back half, it's clearly the inclusions of Sard and Gov in particular coming in for a Marchbank and a Lewis Young.
Correct. But
I definitely agree with that. Yeah,
correct. But you got to understand too is you get rid of Pitto, or Pitto comes in, then you lose a runner.
Of course.
Then that obviously affects the amount of players that can roll through the midfield. And our flexibility around there. So
now it's looking like it's looking like it's one ruck for the foreseeable future.
If you have a look at the last, I don't know, however many years in terms of grand finalists, I don't think anyone's had two ruckmans. Full ruckmans.
Well, Collingwood sort of did it.
Cox is the second forward.
Yeah, but he still plays ruck.
Second forward.
But he still plays ruck. That's the thing. So Cox and Cameron did it, but they're not superstars. Like it's not like they're
not a Pitto.
You know? Yeah, they're not world beaters. So anyway, well, that'll sort itself out in time. We'll see. We're still gonna be talking about this one all year, I think. Just quickly, the Essendon game and the Gold Coast game has just finished.
They lost. I was looking at it. Yeah.
Essendon lost, which is fantastic to see. But I just want to play this one. You fucking stupid fuck. Look at you. Fucking idiots. Honestly, just whatever. They are just bottom feeders, absolute mouth breathers, that football club, so they can go get stuffed. All right, where to from here? So we've broken the game down well enough. I think let's head into the votes, because this is going to feed into a few individual players that obviously especially broke the game open late. Jules, you want to kick off?
Yeah, I can. I gave H 1 vote. I just think in terms of him coming up the ground more, obviously getting getting amongst it, and I think his field kicking is actually exceptional in terms of helping us move the ball out of the back half as well. There was actually one passage of play the Carlton Footy Club actually showed his aerobic capacity in terms of, I think he won the ball in D50 and then getting up the ground and actually had a can't remember if he had a shot or if he kicked the ball inside forward 50. I think he kicked the ball inside forward 50 from memory.
It led to the Chincotta goal.
To a goal. Chincotta goal, correct.
Yeah,
so I just think having him further up the ground actually helps with our style of play. And yeah, he's obviously kicked 3 goals and it was a big part of. He came in his own, especially in the second half. Cripps, I had him for 2, pretty obvious. I don't think it was his best of games, but when we needed him most in the last quarter, he was able to produce, especially with the 2 goals. And then TDK, 3 votes. So I think that was probably his second or first best game for the club, to be honest with you. And I reckon that was last week or this week as well. So I think he's really stepped it up, and I don't know, the stats and the footage speaks for itself, to be honest with you. I think we've really got one with TDK, to be honest.
Oh,
yeah, agree.
Yeah, now. Dan.
Obviously following from what Jules said, just quickly, on Cripps, he had 0 clearances and 7 disposals by halftime. And then, seriously, look at the game the bloke produced after that. And those 2 goals were something else. They really were.
Made the front of my pants stand up.
Likewise. But yeah, TDK, I gave him 3. He was sensational. For me, it was out of Sincotta or Sard. And I just wanted to give Sard the 1 because of the impact this bloke has made since coming back into the side. And go and watch his first half of footy. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't. To be fair, you look at his numbers, and it wasn't like
It wasn't extra. It wasn't. He didn't have a big numbers game. It wasn't. But just the impact of in his presence, and what it does for our back six is.
I agree. I
massive.
agree that his presence does a lot for this side. He just having him out there, you just feel a lot more assured in one-on-ones when the ball hits the deck. Like
Personally, I think it's even the opposition knowing that Sard's there with second guessing their kick as well and where they want to go.
100%.
Yeah.
Jules.
Yeah, for me, it's his ability to win one-on-ones. You almost know that whoever he's playing against, he's going to nullify them and then still get off the leash a little bit as well. So you know that's one win out of the 22 players.
It's to take the game on. He wins it and takes the game on, which is why I gave him the 1.
He's not, to be fair to Sard, he's not a super creative player anymore. I feel like we've turned him into a different player than what he was when he came to the club. Like it's not often that we really see him, stream through the middle like he used to. But I feel like this is a much better role, and I feel like he's executing to a degree that we need him to. Like it not that he is a role player, because he's clearly more than that, but he's at the moment, the role that he's playing is one of a role player. Like it's almost second fiddle to everyone else in the back half. Boyd's taking more of the kicks inside the corridor. McGovern's the one that's streaming through the middle. Like there's a lot more. We look a lot more dynamic with Sard in the role that he's playing. And to your point, Dan, I think just having him out there he probably deserves a vote because he was brilliant in moments.
I think he can afford to just be that person there in terms of like assurance.
Yeah.
And he's very assuring in terms of his defensive ability. But like you said, Joe, like I know you only mentioned 2, but also Newman, he's the player that goes for his kicks now.
Yeah. He could have easily got a vote, by the way.
Even Wiedering can go for his kicks. Boyd goes for his kicks. We've got like 4 or 5 players in the back half that are able to penetrate opposition.
I mean, how Newman didn't get into any of votes is a joke, by the way.
Last week.
But even this week, honourable mention, 29 touches, 8 marks, 17 kicks. He had seven intercept possessions. And about 400 meters gained. So he had another brilliant game. He's coming into his own too. But
he's a big reason for our ball movement.
I still have to give Walsh 1, if I'm being honest, because again, like I gave Charlie a vote last week, and what I said about Charlie, we hold Walsh to a very, very, very high standard, whether that's fair or unfair. He's still racked up 34 disposals. I was going to say 34 disposals, laid 13 tackles and had 8 clearances. Now, the 13 tackles for me is the one I look at, because even though he was a little bit sketchy with ball in hand, going inside 50,
he even got caught a bit.
When it comes to the grunt work, he's there every single week. And he has been since he came back into this side this year with no prep whatsoever. Sam Walsh is a freak. Like, he's just a freak. And I think unfairly at times we hold him to a standard that, unfortunately, is to his detriment when it comes to recognition. And I just felt with the game that he put together, he deserved a vote. Obviously, Cripps and TDK for 2 and 3, like you boys had. Votes leaderboard looks like this. Nick Newman up into 5th, 14 votes. Tom De Koning into the top 4 on 18 votes. Sam Walsh still rock solid in 3rd on 25. Harry 2nd with 31. And Cripper. I'll tell you what.
$7.50 sports bet.
Said it. I've said it. Is he really?
Crunched in. I've got him at 9. I've got him at $7.50.
Yeah, I might get on that when I get home.
I've doubled down.
I might get on that when I get home, because he is putting together a season that is special. I think he's kicked 11 goals now. 11 goals too. Is that right, Jules? Something like that? You'd know. You're the stats guy. I'll have a look. I think it's 11 goals too for the year, which, if you look at his Brownlow year, right? Sorry, 10 goals 2 this year. You look at his Brownlow year, he kicked 20 goals 9. I think he's averaging more disposals. You look at like his comparison to 2022, it like as a player, he's having a better year. So he's probably on track at this point. When we get to Brownlow night, round 12, I reckon he's going to be in front, and I reckon he's going to be in front by about 6 votes the way that he's going, because he's put together a 6 weeks of football that has been unbelievable. Unbelievable. TDK won't get votes in this game. Sorry, he won't get the 3 votes in this game come Brownlow night. It'll be Cripps. Just for those 2 goals. Mark my words. And how's this? I reckon he's All-Australian captain at this point too. He could add so much more to his resume this year that we look at the end of the year and go, he's the greatest to ever play for our club. Genuinely. It's scary. It's scary. Hey?
Another big statement. He's ripped that out twice in 3 weeks.
I'm going to stand by it, because I swear to God, when his career is done, we will look back at it when he's 35 years old. He's played 300 games. He's got 2 flags as a captain of his football club and 2 Brownlow medals, and maybe a Norm Smith around his neck, and go, there's nothing better. And I'm telling you now. Anyway,
Kuda, if you're listening, Joe still loves it.
I still love Kuda. Of course I love Kuda, but mate, Paddy Cripps is a special talent. All right, Livy.
Hey everybody, it's Livy with Livy's Last Words, and this is what I thought about the game. Well, it's definitely good to have a 36-point win over the Port Adelaide. I'm very proud of the boys. You know, I guess we were a little bit quiet in the first, second and third quarter. I mean, in the fourth quarter we played absolutely amazing. Patrick Cripps, big shout out to him, coming in the game pretty quiet in the fourth quarter, getting 2 massive goals, 22 disposals. He just went amazing. Definitely one of my favourites of the game. Sam Walsh, 33 disposals, 8 clearances, was a massive impact. Nick Newman, pretty good. I'm really liking DeConing. I reckon he's playing really good. Zach Williams, 3 goals. Mate, I didn't realise how good he is in the forward. I mean, at the start of the game I had mixed feelings about him being there. But then he played absolutely amazing in the third and fourth quarter. Kerno kicking 3 massive goals. So good to see Kerno. He was quiet in the fourth quarter, which wasn't good because, you know, we had a massive impact there. Harry Mackay also having 3 goals. Very, very good. Mitch McGovern kicking an amazing goal, which was very, very, very exciting. But anyways, I'm a bit disappointed in our defence. I didn't think we played the best. You know, there was a few times where we didn't set up very well. You know, we had like a 1v4 and it was just not very good. We didn't have players that were getting back, which I was not happy with. But anyways, overall, I think the boys played amazing. Bit quiet in the first half, but in the third and fourth quarter, played absolutely amazing. Definitely the fourth quarter was very, very amazingly good. Zach Williams, probably one of my favourites of the game. Same as Paddy Cripps. You know, Zach Williams brings a lot of energy to the game, which is good. But anyways, next week we are versing Essendon. Hopefully, I really want to win that one, and I reckon we will. But anyways, this is what I thought about the game. Go the Blues!
She's I think I need to change the music soon, because she's not actually like a child anymore.
No.
She's grown up a bit since I first put that together. All right, boys. Now, is this not the biggest clash we've had against Essendon for like a decade, I reckon?
And the AFL's loving it.
In the last 10 years. 2nd versus 5th, Sunday night, King's Birthday Eve, MCG, 7:20. That is going to be packed to the rafters.
Agree. Can we all just go back to this time last year when we played them. For me, it was one of the lowest.
You know what? I like
lowest.
this actually. Let's start doing a last time.
No.
we
This one in
do
particular,
this segment,
because
but I know this one in particular. Yes.
this one in particular was I think the fact that they laughed at us for being where we were as a club at that point. There's nothing but blood this week. Nothing but blood. Sorry. I remember standing in the middle of Swan Street at my genuine lowest. I think I called you both. That doesn't happen. That does not happen on Sunday.
Yeah. Jules, what are your memories of that game? That's because that's when it all turned. Really.
Memberships flying.
I remember memberships literally flying over my head off the 4th tier.
Abuse from every tier.
Yeah. Oh shit, Jules, you're on mute. Why you muted yourself?
I just remember walking back up the stairs and then around, and obviously like very, very close to the players' race. And yeah, it wasn't pretty, that's for sure. But boys, I'm looking at the ladder. It's actually pretty close, but I think it's starting to spread a little bit. But in saying that, if we win next week and win a little convincingly in terms of the scoreboard, we could be up to second going into the bye.
Yep.
And then with the run of games that we have after, because I think we got what, Geelong and GWS again after that. Is that correct?
We've got after the bye. I looked at this during the week. We've got Geelong straight after the bye, then Richmond, then GWS, and then it's Bulldogs, North, Port, Collingwood, Hawthorn, Eagles, St Kilda. Right now, that is the easiest run you're going to get into a final series at this stage of the season.
So yeah, I just think if we win against Essendon,
go
into the bye. Yeah, all right. When we win against Essendon, go into the bye. We are in a very good place.
Well, I
didn't see it. If we do win against, or when we win against Essendon, and it happens, I didn't see this at the beginning of the season.
Well, not even 2 weeks ago after the Sydney game, we did this podcast with David Rees-Jones, and I remember the three of us saying if we get to 8-5 at the bye, so win 2 of our next 3, that'll be a win. We're 8-4 going into this game. We could be 9-4 at the bye, which is phenomenal versus what we thought we might look like after that Sydney game. So
yeah,
we have set ourselves up. We have set ourselves up brilliantly this season. This is the best I've seen us come into a season and work our way in and make tweaks and work some a real small patch where we kind of struggled a little bit but still got results. Now we've come out of that and we look like we are well oiled to just have a proper crack in the second half of the year.
I just want to show these fuckers how good of a football club we are at this point in time. That's it. I just want there to be a display of total domination against a side that personally, for me, just bring... Yeah, you took that out of my mouth. I think they just play this honest brand. Nothing special. There was footage of I think it was last week of Guelphy running like 20 meters to provide a shepherd for one of their players or some shit like that. I don't give a fuck. I think we need to genuinely batter them proper.
Agree.
Yeah,
and then
I just think in terms of
at them.
Yeah,
too much. Sorry.
I just think in terms of who we've played over the last, I don't even know, 8, 9, 10 games, whatever it has been. We've literally played 8, 9, 10 top 8 sides. So when we've played them, they've been in the 8. I think after this game, I think we've played every top 8 side from last year as well.
Yeah,
I
and then
think.
we've still got one more against Geelong after the bye.
Yeah.
Well, it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
fixture, the fixture,
yeah.
the run in this fixture that we've had is insane. It's just nuts.
Yeah, and to put the wins on the board that we have with the injury list that we've had, and with this period of time in the space of 5 games where we lost 3 as well. It's been a very good season so far for us. I
You're gonna have
think.
to change. You're gonna have to change your wedding, Jules, because we're gonna have to be there in September. That's all I'm saying. And you better book that flight back from Singapore for grand final day right now, because you're gonna miss flag 17. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at this week. Yeah. Just quickly, I forgot to mention off top, we had a premiership player that passed away during the week, John Gould, who none of us in this podcast know, but there's a few in the comments that do. So thought pay the respects to John, and any servant of the football club over the years should have their flowers given to him. So sad news. If there's anyone in the comments that watched John Gould from back in the day, share some stories. It's always good to hear about players that we don't necessarily hear about or know about. Hunter in the comments, look at this one. He started supporting Carlton the week after that Essendon lost last year, and he had no idea about all of it. It's been a
You're
great
the
run.
lucky one. You're the lucky one.
That's got to be the luckiest Carlton supporter I've ever seen. Yeah, it's big this week. I can feel how big this is already. Where that Sunday night at the G is going to be electric. It's a different feel to a Collingwood game. This I don't feel as like, I don't know. There's not as much hatred for this mob. I still don't like them, but
No, but there's a point to prove. There's a big
we
point
owe
to
them
prove
one.
this week.
Yeah, we owe them one this time around. I'm with both of you. I want to see us. I just want to see us put them away in one quarter, like we do. Electric, kick 7-8 goals, and then keep it at arm's length. That's it. And say you're not even.
Do you know what the best thing about it is, as well? They have a 6-7 day break flying in from Gold Coast, and obviously it's a very tricky game up there in terms of like the weather and the environment.
Yep.
We're flying in, but we've got a 9-10 day break, so the boys are going to be very, very fresh for sure. I know we had like a 5-day break as well, which obviously between Gold Coast and Port. And another thing too is that's actually a very good performance after a 5-day break, considering especially the pressure rating that we were able to put out as well. I know they had a 5-day break as well, but nonetheless.
Aiden's asked a question: how do we beat them? I've watched a little bit of Essendon. I haven't watched a lot. I've watched a little bit of them this year. I don't think they're anything special, if I'm being honest. I really don't. I think they're a well drilled system from Brad Scott, which he's renowned for. Did it at North and got them to prelims with a pretty bang average team. I think their system is very, very good and it can hold up against anyone. But I think when it comes to X factor, they just don't have what we've got. And I think that's what this is going to come down to at the end of the day. It's going to come down to our big boys, Cripper, Charlie, Harry, Walsh, and Weeders in particular down back standing up against Peter Wright. Peter Wright's playing, I think, at the moment. If they can all get a hold on the game at various points, I just don't think Essendon gets close. I just don't think it does. Zach Merritt is a superstar. Zach Merritt's a superstar. He's had his best year of footy ever this year. So we got to put some time into him. I think Cincotta goes straight to him. Parrish hasn't had too much of an impact on games this year so far. So I just think if we beat him in the middle, like we did against
Ridley back. They've had Ridley back the past
Ridley has been good the last couple of weeks, yes. But I just think we've got more across the park. I just do.
Yeah, I just think I agree with Aiden in terms of our weakness being our probably biggest strength in terms of our midfield as well. So, I have no doubt that if we do, I think our turnover game is going to be there. It's just whether our clearance game's there at the same time for long enough for me.
Ins and outs. I kind of want to go in unchanged again, if I'm being honest. I don't see like Chera, Cottrell, and that they're not ready.
Where's Mott's at?
Mott's had an average game again today, so he's not coming in.
He was actually playing on ball for a bit. I was actually watching a bit.
There you go.
Yeah, he was playing on ball. Like I'm talking like center clearance type stuff. Yeah, he looked far from it for me. I think the only player that actually played not too bad was Carroll. I think everyone else was pretty below par from at least from what I watch and from what I watched and the stats I saw.
Unchanged. Let's do it 2 weeks in a row. Reward him for good performance, I think. Predictions, boys, before we get into the not happy Dan this week.
Carlton by 27.
I'm by 45.
Yeah, Carlton by 6+ goals. I think this is a statement game written all over it before we go into the bye. They're going to be pumped. They know that they can leave it all out there and they've got a week off the week after. I'm expecting a very, very big performance from our boys next week. All right.
Aiden and I are on the same page.
What's he got?
45.
There you go. Yeah. No, you should catch up for a coffee with Aiden. Yeah. Let's go to this one.
Keep calm. Count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 10.
Not happy, Dan!
And if you knew, this segment has evolved a little bit. Dan starts us off, and then if Jules and I have got anything else to add, we'll add on at the end. So
Actually,
Dan,
a bit of bullshit.
Go on.
It's actually a bit of bullshit.
You're the only one. You're the only one that's allowed to have grievances.
Well, we don't get involved in stats with Jules.
Well, we do. It's a whole show.
We don't get in. What's your segment? Hosting. We don't fucking host.
I don't have. What's my segment? Go on.
My old man. And my dad never. You both know my dad very well. Good man. But he pissed me off yesterday. So went and played golf. 18 holes, Eagle Ridge. Had a golf cart. Golf cart included. Dad turns to me. We get the keys. Start walking out to go to the car. He goes, "Hey, Dan, do you want to just walk the whole thing today?" He goes, "It will be good for us." And my dad loves that sort of stuff, yeah? I go, "You know what? Fine. We'll do it."
Oh, it's a long course.
Yeah, long course. Long course. Jules, we're playing for
That's probably why they
six.
give you the cart, bloke.
Like, listen to this though. This isn't where it cooked me. Maybe at the 8th hole, starts raining. Raining. My dad turns to me and goes, "Should have got the cart, hey."
Did you get that winter deal? $40 each or something. You get a cart and a pie. Is that what you got? No. There's a winter deal down at Eagle Ridge every year. It's $40 per player, 18 holes, cart and pie. Anyway, you obviously didn't get that. That is a course. I walk a lot playing golf. I like to walk, but that is one course that's one course I've never ever walked.
He goes to me after. He goes, "Geez, I'm tired." No shit. And the people we're playing with, they had a car. I'm like, fucking hell.
Oh, Jesus.
So the wait for you.
Hey, actually, what'd you say, Jules?
So that's a wait for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's this? Is this? We forgot before I go into my not happy Joe. We forgot to mention this is the
He's
first
trying
time.
to take your segment pays on.
Actually pissed me off. Not
He's
happy.
even calling it not happy.
Go do another one.
He's preempting it.
Yeah, go do the thing again, Joe. Go do the intro music. Go.
When the abuse is done, let me know.
No, go. Yeah, really good. One
Did
bit
Ben
of limelight I get in the show. It's fine.
Did Ben Mackay play today? He did.
No, don't know.
He did. So what we forgot to mention is this is the first time that Harry and Ben will line up on each other, and they'll line up at each other.
I know that.
Nah, 100%. Voss is sending him straight to it
Things can happen
in the square.
As in, you don't know. Maybe, I'm not going to say it. Actually, no. Touch wood.
No. It's going to happen. Ben's
It's
had
happened
a
before.
Ben's had a great year.
It's happened before when Ben's dropped out for whatever reason with his foot or whatever.
This
Things
is the year.
can happen.
I'm actually really looking forward to that, to be honest, because Ben's been in form, Harry's been in form. There could be punch-ons between the two of them. I hope they do. I hope there's just a little bit of a scuffle between them at some point.
Ben will get violent gastro.
Oh, Jesus. All right. So this fucking thing here. This is what I'm not happy about. Look at this. This is going to be the worst haircut of all time. All time. You know what shits me, right? So I got a haircut in London when I got back from Portugal last week. I
Okay, he's
thought,
fixing it. Look, guys. Oh, you're. Can I drop out of this? You fucking piss me off.
it's just shit. Look at it. You know what shits me? So I'm going to give a big shout out.
You got a
to-
shit hair,
Huh?
son. You know,
A what? What do you say?
I mean, it's not a blank canvas, yeah. And like, it's not, you know,
So I'm
your,
going to
your
give it.
hair's the best for
Can
starters.
only work with what you got, yeah.
Exactly. He's probably done a pretty good job considering.
I've been told many times from many people that listen to this podcast that I am definitely the best looking one here. So we'll move on from that. The other thing I want to say,
You write that in your mum.
Shave your head and let's see.
the other thing I want to say is I want to give a shout out to friends of Jules and I, 210 Barber 210 on Sydney Road in Brunswick. They do a brilliant job. Mason, Clay, Bianca, Kingsley, a lot of them there. And I know they do a brilliant job now because I've had to go elsewhere to get my hair cut the last 2 times I've had a haircut because my barber Mason has been away. And I've been away. How fucking hard is it when you walk into a barber and they say, "What do you want?" And you just go, just kind of leave it, but give me a short back and sides and take a little bit off the top. What goes through their head when they literally shear me and he sits there and he goes, "Yep, I've nailed that." No, you haven't. You fucked it up. You butchered me. They're called Venus. I'm going to call them out because they don't listen to this show. There's no way. Venus Barbers, Clapham High Street in London. They are fucking atrocious. They might as well be called Venus Butchers, not Venus Barbers.
When you show them a picture of that, that's what you get.
Honestly, I am so shitty about this haircut. It's not funny. Davey says my eyebrows are worse than my hair. My missus won't be too happy to hear that. She's sleeping behind me. Yeah, she did my eyebrows a couple of days ago. So, fuck, she's done a rubbish job apparently. Anyway, that's I'm not happy with this haircut. Jules, you got one or not?
Well, I'm not happy about your haircut, to be honest with you. But it is what it is. You already mentioned it.
Anyway, that's it. That's all I got. Dan, you got anything else to add? Considering it's your segment, apparently it's only yours. You did a really good job hosting at the start today.
Yeah, great. Come on.
Oh, you want to do the outro? Go on. Go.
No, I don't know. I don't want to. All right.
We didn't prepare for it.
What's that? No, you can't just do that. You know, he's got weeks to prepare, episodes to prepare. Anyway, let's finish this thing off.
I mean,
Jules,
he's been anyway. Yeah, actually, you know what? I won't go into it. Actually, I'll wait.
don't bother.
I'll wait.
Are you going to wait for Joe to come back?
What are you waiting for? 360.
I'll wait.
Just for everyone that's listening, my favorite time of the year for this podcast is coming up in 2 weeks. So if you're familiar with the show and if you've watched us for the last 4 years, we indulge in 360 feedback come the buy. So not next week, the week after, and it's going to get personal this year.
I'm going to make you both cry.
I haven't started prepping yet, but some of us have, but I haven't started. But when I do,
those that have watched the show clearly know that I'll roast both parties very well with zero prep.
Yeah,
so good luck to yourselves.
That's true. But it's going to get personal this year. I'm just letting you know early on. Yeah, I've got a lot to get off my chest for both of you. I'm actually not joking. All right, boys. Until next week. I'm off. I'm hopping on a plane. I'll see you boys in 24 hours, and I'll see everyone else next week. Until then, up the baggers.
It's delayed.
Oh, fucking hell.
Love it, Jules.